Good morning to all and welcome to the session, the Hindu Editorial Analysis for Proficiency in English. Before we go to the session, let us start let us start the session with a nice quote. What is today's quote? Nothing is permanent in this world, not even our troubles. That's a very useful one. Nothing is permanent in this world, not even our troubles. They may be here today but may disappear tomorrow. Today's editorial is all about identity and privacy against the backdrop of those who are experiencing or those who are in jails. A new editorial, we haven't touched this topic so far, and there are a few important words. That way, it is an important editorial. As usual, besides the editorial analysis, you are going to work on practice questions based on exam topics. Now, let us go to the vocabulary part from today's editorial. The first one, scrutiny. Scrutiny, we have got many a time. Scrutinize, part of speech, noun. Scrutinize is a verb. Scrutiny, noun. Critical observation or examination. Critical or thorough observation or examination of something, we use the word scrutiny. Biometric, now this word is in the limelight. Everyone knows. Adjective, using detailed information about someone's body, especially the fingertips, the fingerprints, and eyes, all these. Validity. What is the validity of something? Usually you ask a question. Part of speech, noun. The quality of being logically or factually sound. Is it a valid argument? Means what? Is it acceptable? Is it logically or factually acceptable? Inevitable, we have got many a time. What does it mean? Part of speech adjective, unavoidable, likely to happen, certain to happen. Exactly, that's right. Aadhaar biometric. Era, an important word, part of speech noun. A long and distinct period of history. When you look at history, there's a long and distinct. Distinct means something that stands out. When it comes to long and distinct period of history, we use the word era. Embody, we have got for the first time. Include or contain something as a constituent part of something, then we use the word embodied in something. Landmark has two or three meanings. We all know, usually when we talk about the address, we ask the question, what is a landmark? But here in this context, the other meaning. What is the other meaning of the word landmark? An event or development that marks a turning point or stage. Generally, it goes with landmark development, landmark judgment, landmark policy. These are the combinations. Contended, we have got once or twice. Part of speech verb. Assert something as a position in an argument. Contended that, then that means they are trying to assert. Assert is an important word. At the workplace, we use the word assertive. We always say try to be assertive. Means what? Be firm. You take a stand, don't change your stand. Then we say be assertive. Assert something as a position in an argument. Coercive. Part of speech adjective relating to or using force or threats. Force. Coerce means using force. Discrimination we have come across many a time, but here the word is incrimination. What does it mean? To charge with involvement in a crime. To charge with involvement in a crime. Because the context is related to criminals, jail, we the word incrimination. Invoke we have got many a time. It has two or three meanings. One goes with gods, but the other goes with law, legal term. Cite or appeal to someone or something as an authority for an action or in support of an argument. In this context, in support of something. Dissemination, an important word. It goes with information. The action or fact of spreading something, especially information, widely. You try to spread information, then you should use the word dissemination of information. Acquit is a legal term. Part of speech verb. It's a regular verb. Acquit, acquitted, acquitted. What is opposite? Convict, convicted, convicted. Acquit means free someone from a criminal charge by a verdict of not guilty. Imagine someone is in court and he has been accused, he or she has been accused. The judge says this person has not committed crime. Then the judge may use the word this person is innocent, and based on that, innocent here it's a legal term. He may acquit that person. Opposite, the judge thinks the person has committed crime, then the judge uses the word guilty, then the person is convicted. So remember, acquit, opposite, convict. Innocent, opposite, guilty. But in this context, innocent, guilty, they are legal terms. Acquitted, free someone from a criminal charge by a verdict of not guilty. Significant, we have got so many times, I'm sure you guys know. Important, yes, acquitted from. Important. Vital also means the same, crucial, important. Vital, significant. Accuse. When it comes to a particular person, someone says he has done something wrong. Then we use the word he has been accused of something. Accuse is a verb. What does it mean? Charge someone with an offense or crime. Accusation and the related word allegation. Detainees, detain someone. Based on that, you have the word detainee, part of speech noun, a person held in custody, especially for political reasons. Grave has got two or three meanings. One meaning, graveyard. You all know the meaning of that. And here, grave means something that is urgent and very bad, or generally we say grave means serious. Decline has got two different meanings. One is to refuse. Another, in this context, typically of something regarded as good, become smaller, fewer, or less, decrease. Decline means what? Decrease. One combination you can think of, declining standards, means what? The standards are coming down. Consent, part of speech noun. He has given his consent, means what? Permission for something to happen or agreement to do something. You can also think of the word approval. So these are the words from the editorial. Now let us go to the editorial. Identity and privacy. Not easy to make out what exactly it is about, but the words are simple words, identity and privacy. Now, what is the main idea of this editorial? Prisoners Identification Bill. This is all about Prisoners Identification Bill, which raises privacy and data safety concerns, requires a deep scrutiny. Today, for the first time, I think I have already done, I have underlined the phrases. That way, it becomes easy for you to understand the main idea of the sentence, the subject, verb, object, and we use phrases and clauses to add more information. Here, Prisoners Identification Bill requires deep scrutiny. This is the actual idea. But here, which raises privacy and data safety concerns. This is a clause. Usually, writers, what they try to do, they try to add more information. How do they do that? They use phrases and clauses, and these phrases and clauses go with the subject, either with the subject or with the object. Here, what is the subject? Prisoners Identification Bill, which raises privacy and data safety concerns. That means this bill raises, and today you can see some words are in green. That means they are important grammar point of view, obviously, exam point of view. First, I'll read the sentence, then I will tell why they are important. This bill, which raises privacy and data safety concerns, requires deep scrutiny. This bill requires a deep scrutiny because it is before it is implemented. The word scrutiny comes from scrutinize, means what? To observe something thoroughly, examine something thoroughly. So from this, you should understand the editorial is all about one particular bill. Which one is that? Prisoners Identification Bill. And the editorial opines this bill, it raises privacy and data safety concerns. Based on that, identity and privacy. It raises privacy and data safety concerns. Because of that, This bill requires deep scrutiny before it is implemented. Why this word raises is important now. The word in green important from grammar point of view, important from exam point of view. There are two verbs. There's a particular topic, confusing verbs. We have about 7 to 8 pairs, and one of the pairs, rise, raise. Though we have got many a time, I don't mind reiterating. These are important. Rise is an intransitive verb. Rise, rose, risen. It is an irregular verb. What does it mean intransitive? It cannot take an object. On the other hand, raise is a transitive verb. It can take an object. It is also a regular verb. Raise, raised, raised. A typical example, raise your hands. Here, which raises what? Privacy and data safety concerns. The Union government's latest proposal to enable the collection of biometric and biological data from prisoners, besides the usual physical measurements, photographs, and fingerprints, raises serious questions about its legal validity. The same idea is being reiterated at the outset itself. Usually, writers do at the back end of the editorial or the article, but here it talks about the same thing. Prisoners Identification Bill. The Union government's latest proposal to enable the collection of what? Biometric, specific details related to the body, either eyes or fingerprints, any of these, and biological data from prisoners besides the usually how do they take if you see, we all see movies and we all know they make the prisoner stand against the wall, they take a photograph in different angles, the usual, and they mention the height, all these things, the usual physical measurements, photographs, and fingerprints. Besides these, they're going to resort to biometric and biological data. And this raises serious questions about its legal validity. Questions here, the main idea, it requires deep scrutiny. Why does it require deep scrutiny? It raises privacy and data safety concerns. The same idea, more or less, raises serious questions about its legal validity. Based on these two dimensions, privacy and data safety concerns, it raises serious questions regarding legal validity. Now, biometric, I have given the meaning. Validity, something is valid, means what? It is logically acceptable, factually correct. Is it a valid proposal? Means what? Is it acceptable? Based on reasoning, based on the facts. And here there are two words in green. One is data. Whatever is in green, it is related to grammar, important from the exam point of view. Data, datum singular, data plural, one thing. Data can also be a collective noun. That means what? It is really important. A lot of students ask me the question, so data is plural, why have you added S or ES to the verb? Do remember, when we use the word data as a plural of datum, it does not take S or ES. But on the other hand, data, when it is used as a collective noun, it is considered third person singular. It takes a singular verb, a singular pronoun. I hope you guys got it. So data is nothing wrong with that. Then you have a preposition. There are two prepositions, confusing pairs of prepositions. Beside, besides. Beside means what? Next to. Beside that person, beside this thing. But besides means in addition to. So, usual way of collecting data, physical measurements, photographs, and fingerprints. In addition to these regular or usual physical measurements, now they are going to resort to biometric and biological data. The sentence talks about that. And this is obviously raises to what extent it is legally valid. Such questions are inevitable. Inevitable means unavoidable, certain to happen. Such questions are inevitable in an era, means a time period that is distinct, in which people look at official efforts to gather personal data with suspicion. Now, this is a time period, this is a time or the present scenario when officials resort to, or when officials try to collect information, Personal information, it could be some valid reason, there could be some valid reason, but whenever there is an official effort to collect personal data, that is viewed with suspicion. Such questions are inevitable, unavoidable in an era in which people look at official efforts to gather personal data with suspicion. Suspicion, again, you have to think of a particular word. Some people, they always try to suspect everything, doubt everything. Then, what is a word for that? Skeptic in nature. Again, a lot of students get confused between skeptic, being skeptic, another word, cynical. They are not one and the same. Skeptic means doubting something. Cynical, always a negative attitude, completely pessimistic, and in a way, it is a sick attitude. The practice, again, it is in green. TICE, it is a noun form, and TISC is a verb form. That you have to recollect. The practice of recording the photographs and fingerprints of prisoners, a typical practice. The practice of recording the photographs and fingerprints of prisoners is more than a century old in the country, backed by a colonial law dating back to 1920. We all know when a person is arrested, the person is sent to jail, he is in the prison. The first thing they do, they try to take the photographs of the criminal or the accused. And besides taking the photographs, they also take the fingerprints. This is, there's an important, and whatever you see in violet, it is related to phrases more than a century old. Remember an important term. You can also say a century old practice, more than a century old practice. The practice of recording the photographs and fingerprints of prisoners is more than a century old in the country, in our country, and it is backed by or based on a colonial law dating back to 1920. Again, whatever is underlined, that is, the writer is trying to add more information. It could be a phrase, it could be a clause. So always remember, if you see something underlined, it goes with a phrase or a clause used to add more information to the main idea, backed by a colonial law dating back to 1920. Another important expression, date back to. They have given in a few exams, dating back to or date back to or dates back to. Remember that expression. Now, this talks about the regular practice and says it dates back to 1920. The union government now proposes, now the latest bill, the union government now proposes to expand the idea of taking measurements to cover, besides those typical measurements, the union government now proposes to expand the idea of taking measurements to cover finger impressions, palm print impressions, excuse me, footprint impressions, never heard of this, physical and biological samples and their analysis. All these go with biometric. Besides, behavioral attributes. So this is also something new, including signatures and handwriting. All these go with the new bill, besides the regular photographs and fingerprints. Fingerprints are regular pattern using a register and taking the fingerprint. Now it is a different thing. You all know that. A lengthy sentence, but easy to understand. The union government now proposes to expand the idea of taking measurements to cover, expand the idea to cover something else. What is that? Finger impressions, palm print impressions, footprint impressions, physical, biological samples and their analysis. Besides, in addition to behavioral attributes, including signatures and handwriting. You may ask, sir, why this word signature in green? You all know the word sign is a verb, signature is a noun. But sign can be, this is an important word from the exam point of view. It can be a verb, it can be a noun, it can be an adjective. Three different parts of speech. When I say you have a nice signature, your signature is beautiful. Signature only a noun. There is no ambiguity, there is no confusion. It is a noun. But when it comes to sign as a verb, please sign here. Here in this example, listen very carefully. When I say please sign here, sign is a verb. Sign is a verb. And in different competitive exams they've given based on common errors, a lot of people tend to say, please sign in the register. That is not correct. Please sign the register. We should not use a preposition in, but a lot of people say, please sign in the register. That is not correct. Please sign the register. Then what is that sign? When I look at something, I ask the question, what is that sign? In that example, it is a noun. Third example, I cannot use, I cannot understand sign language. Language is a noun, sign is an adjective. And a typical sentence pattern, a lot of people say, please put your signature here. That syntax is not correct. That is not acceptable. You have to say, please sign here. So much that goes with the word signature and the word sign. Excuse me. The Criminal Procedure Identification Bill 2022, which embodies, covers, takes something into, takes something as a constituent part. This goal has been introduced in the Lok Sabha. Now, this sentence talks about the new bill, the Criminal Procedure Identification Bill 2022, which embodies this goal. All these aspects, all these dimensions, has been introduced in the Lok Sabha. Again, in green, here it talks refers to the tense has been introduced. Which tense is that? It is obviously present perfect, but you should ask the question, is it active voice or passive voice? They have introduced the bill, present perfect active voice. The bill has been introduced by them, present perfect passive voice. Always try to recollect and consolidate. Some members have argued that the bill went against. Now, there are some objections, and the editorial talks about this has to be deeply scrutinized before implemented. Obviously, some people must have objected. Now, the editorial talks about the objections related to this particular bill going to be implemented. Some members have argued that the bill went against. Go against, went against, an important expression. The Supreme Court's landmark judgment. As I said, the word landmark goes with address. Can you give me the landmark? Can you tell the landmark? But another important meaning, landmark judgment, landmark verdict. Landmark means an important development, an important event, an important development that has long lasting implications or consequences. Landmark judgment declaring privacy as a fundamental right in case Puttaswamy. So when they take all these things, obviously, in a way it is against the privacy. But here, Supreme Court's judgment says privacy a fundamental right. Based on that, some members have argued that the bill went against the Supreme Court's landmark judgment, declaring the judgment declared privacy as a fundamental right in case Puttaswamy case. Some contended, argued, they took a stand that the bill enabled coercive drawing of samples and possibly involved a violation of Article 23, which protects the right against self-incrimination. Again, you see something underlined that goes with more information, a phrase or a clause. This is a bit difficult to understand. I will read the sentence. Some contended, some members have argued that it goes against the fundamental right because the Supreme Court judgment says privacy comes under fundamental rights. Some other members, some contended that the bill enabled coercive drawing of samples. When you want to take the samples, obviously you have the other person has to cooperate. You cannot use force. But this sentence talks about if this bill is implemented, the bill enables or enabled coercive drawing of samples, means they can take the samples of the accused using force. Coercive means using force. Drawing of samples means collecting samples, and possibly involved a violation means it goes against Article 23. What is this Article 23? What does it deal with? Which protects the right against self incrimination. Which protects the right against self incrimination. Incrimination goes with crime in this context. There are other concerns too. Again, the word to in green, you may ask, so how is it related to grammar? How is it important from the exam point of view? There are two Adverbs, pairs of adverbs, we have a few pairs of adverbs. They come under confusing adverbs. One of the examples, one is enough, the other one is too. Enough means sufficient. Too means excess. Enough has a positive connotation. Too has a negative connotation, usually. Enough can be an adjective, enough can be an adverb. Enough as an adverb is important. He has enough money. Here it is an adjective. He is intelligent enough to do something. She is smart enough to avoid the problems. Here, enough is an adverb. So, this is important from the exam point of view. Again, you have to recollect yes, Uday Kumar. He is too short to reach something. He is too lazy to go there. Too. That pattern also you have to recollect. There are other concerns too. In addition to this concern, there are other concerns. What are they? Such as, see, information is being added. There are other concerns too. What are those other concerns? Such as the means by which the data collected will be preserved, shared, and disseminated and destroyed. So many words. The data collected using force will be preserved, kept in good condition for a long time, shared, disseminated. Disseminate is an important word. Disseminate means what? Spread. Usually it goes with information. Dissemination of information, a typical combination or collocation, and destroyed. The bill allows the records to be preserved for 75 years. There's one word here, preserved. Keep in a good condition for a long time. Then comes the question, how long? The answer for that, the bill allows the records to be preserved for 75 years and to be destroyed earlier if the person is discharged or acquitted. The limit is 75 years, but before that, if the person is acquitted, then they are supposed to destroy that information. To be destroyed earlier if the person is discharged or acquitted. Acquit, to tell someone, to say someone, to give the verdict, someone is innocent, and to set the person free and not punished. Acquit means not punished, and convict means punished. The concern over privacy and the safety of the data, the two dimensions the editorial talks about when it comes to the those who are in the prison. The concern over privacy and the safety of their data is undoubtedly significant. Significant means what? Important. Such practices that involve the collection, storage, and destruction of vital details of a personal nature ought to be introduced only after a strong data protection law with stringent punishment for breaches is in place. A lengthy sentence, but easy to understand. This talks about the implications, the negative dimensions related to this particular bill going to be implemented sooner or later. The concern over privacy and the safety of the data is undoubtedly. There are concerns, and the editorial says the concern is significant, means what? Beyond any doubt, important, undoubtedly significant. Such practices that involve the collection, storage, and destruction of vital details of a personal nature ought to be introduced. This is again green, that means grammar related, important from the exam point of view. Ought to is a helping verb. There are about, we also use the word models. There are about 20, and one of the models ought to. In our country, it is still in usage, but in Western countries, it has become outdated. There are two helping verbs you have to recollect. One should, the other one ought to. They have the same function. Though should has two or three functions. One of the functions common to these two models or helping verbs, should is used to advise or suggest someone. Ought to is also used to suggest or advise someone. Then you may ask, so what is the difference? Old English, should informal English, ought to formal English. Now, formal or informal in Western countries, I'm talking about current English or modern English, they stopped using ought to in a formal situation. They are using should. Both mean the same, advise or suggest someone. Ought to be introduced. They ought to introduce active voice. It has to be, it ought to be introduced. It is passive voice. Here you have to recollect active voice, passive voice. Here it is in passive voice. Ought to be introduced only after A strong data protection law with stringent punishment for breaches, again adding information, is in place. When should we introduce this bill? The sentence talks about the time to introduce this bill. It has to be, or it ought to be introduced only after a strong data protection law with stringent punishment for breaches. A strong data protection law should be in place, and also this law should contain stringent punishment for breaches. Breach we have got already, so I haven't brought it in red. Breach means what? Violation of a contract or agreement. One of the meanings. What is the other meaning of the word breach? A crack, a gap. Usually it goes with a wall, a dam, a concrete structure. But breach in this context, a violation. Stringent punishment, strict punishment for violation. If it is in place, this data protection law is in place, then we can introduce. That's what the sentence talks about. The 1920, now it goes back to the colonial law. The 1920 law enabled the taking of measurements from convicts, not convict, convicts sentenced to a prison term of 1 year and above, and anyone arrested on a charge that attracts such a prison term. So this talks about when would they take the measurements. If in a case where a prison term of 1 year and above has been sentenced to a prison term of 1 year and above, and anyone arrested on a charge that attracts such a prison term, then they would take the measurements. And thirdly, one who has furnished a bond for good behavior and peace. One who has furnished means to provide, furnished a bond for good behavior and peace. However, contrasting information. However, the present bill includes all convicts and anyone arrested under any law in force or detained under any preventive detention law. The scope is broad. In the past, if you look at 1920 law, only restricted to a few conditions. But here, all convicts, that is one thing. Anyone arrested under any law in force or detained under any preventive detention law. So it is broader in scope. There is a provision by which an arrested person not accused of an offense against a woman or a child, or one that attracts a prison term of 7 years or more, may disallow the taking of samples. In this law, there is a provision. What is that provision? A person, arrested person, not accused, to say someone has done something wrong, then we say accuse. Generally, you say, then it is point out. But legally, crime related, then we use the word accuse. Not accused of an offense against a woman or a child, or one that attracts a prison term of 7 years or more, beyond 7 years, that 7 years or more, may disallow the taking of samples. He has the right. The provision says that. Not all detainees may know that they can indeed decline to let biological samples to be taken. Now, this is a provision, but the next sentence talks about how many detainees know this. When you're not aware of that, you will allow them to take the samples, obviously. Not all detainees may know that they can indeed decline. Decline to go down, one meaning. In this context, refuse. They may not be aware that they can refuse to let biological samples to be taken, again in passive voice. And it may be easy for the police to ignore such refusal and later claim that they did get the detainee's consent. Consent means what? Approval, permission. So this talks about the provision and the implications. The bill is controversial. Based on that, it is controversial. How does the editorial end? The bill is controversial as a tendency to arrest activists, protesters, and even innocent people and invoke grave charges is on the rise. Here, indeed is used for emphasis. Indeed is used for emphasis. The bill is controversial. Why is it controversial? The sentence tries to justify. The tendency to arrest activists, protesters, and even innocent people and invoke grave, bring into force grave charges, means serious charges. It is on the rise. Something is on the rise, an important phrase. And on the rise means what? It is happening. So, what is happening? tendency to arrest activists, protesters, and even innocent people. Based on that, it is controversial. It would be in the fitness of things. Another important phrase. It would be in the fitness of things if it is referred to a standing committee for deeper scrutiny before it is enacted into law. A reiteration of the main idea. What is it? It is referred, if it is better if it is referred to a standing committee for deeper scrutiny. It has to be scrutinized, observed, or examined thoroughly, deeper scrutiny before it is enacted into law. A thought provoking editorial, important, and one has to read twice or thrice, but not that difficult to comprehend. Let us have a look at the questions from comprehension point of view based on this editorial. What is this editorial about? Better you write, it is not that easy. When you try to write something that is not easy, in a way you raise your standards. You try to write something easy, definitely you're not raising your standards. But always I tell students, first you have to do something. Your approach should be systematic. First you write something easy, then slowly go to something that is complicated. That gives you immense confidence, and also it is a systematic approach. What raises serious questions about its legal validity? You should be able to answer. There are two dimensions. What has been introduced in the Lok Sabha? Again, keywords: navigate, locate, write the answer. In the context of the editorial, what is undoubtedly significant? Two keywords: undoubtedly, beyond any doubt, significant, important, vital, crucial. In the context of the editorial, what is on the rise? At the fag end of the editorial, the writer uses on the rise. What is on the rise? You can easily write the answer. Now let us go to practice questions based on this today's session, based on exam topics for today. Read the first sentence and try to spot the error. The first five questions go with error location. When I bring questions based on previous year's papers, you can assess your standards. And I usually bring questions from previous year's papers and also questions from the Hindu paper, international magazines, to keep you in touch with the current happenings or the latest topics. Ramesh has been both. Whenever you come across the word both, you have to think of an important rule that goes with conjunctions, and also it goes with common errors. What is that? Both takes and. But common error, a lot of people tend to use both as well as. This is a common error, not correct. Don't use as well as, both takes and. Ramesh has been both a dishonest person, as well as not correct, and a gambler since his childhood. Both unwanted qualities. Dishonest, gambler. Gambling, you bet money on things, then we use the term gambling. Let us go to question number 2. The number of employees reporting health problems have reduced significantly because of the incentive. This is an interesting sentence. Usually it goes with the workplace. People try to quote or cite health issues, but when there is an important incentive based on the punctuality or regularity, all these things disappear. That means what? They are lame excuses. Here, the number, whenever you come across, there are two phrases: the number, a number. There's an important rule that you have to recollect. What is that rule? The phrase the number takes a singular verb. Takes what? A singular verb. Of employees reporting health problems, phrase, put it in brackets. The number have, no, not correct. It takes a singular verb. Based on that, the number has come down, the number has reduced, and a number takes a plural verb. Even that you have to recollect. But in the exam, they have given many exams, the number, that way it is an important phrase. Please go to question number 3. Yes, very good, Naresh. If you write during the live session, you will be able to remember And in the exam, within no time, you will be able to spot the error. In such delicate matters, we go often with his advice. You have to recollect VICE, noun VISC, verb, as he has been handling such cases effectively. If you get this right, I will appreciate. Oh, very good. Who is this? Purna, am I right? Or Puma? Very good. Often, always, repeatedly. All these or any adverb that goes with adverbs of frequency. In English, we have different types of adverbs: adverbs of manner, adverbs of place, adverbs of time. But adverbs of frequency are very important. There are four rules, in fact. Here you have to recollect all the four rules. The first rule says we use adverbs of frequency between the subject and the verb. In this clause, what is the subject? We. What is the verb? Go. We have to use often between these two. So, what is the correct expression? We often go. This is the first rule. I said there are four rules. What is the second one? If there are two or more verbs, we have to use adverb of frequency after the first verb. She has always come in time. There are two verbs: has, come. We have to use the adverb of frequency after the first verb. She has always come in time. The third rule, we use adverbs of frequency after helping verbs. She is always punctual. He is helping verb, after that always adverb of frequency. But the fourth rule is very important. Two helping verbs they don't take after them, they take adverbs of frequency before them. What are those two helping verbs? One is have to, the other one is used to. And based on this, in many exams, they've given questions. In fact, I don't remember the year, that particular year, Group 1 exam, I think State Public Service Commission exam, they gave the question based on this. The correct position of adverb of frequency. Do remember helping verbs, they take after, but two helping verbs, have to and used to, they take before. An important one that way. Question number 4 from the Hindu paper, current information, yesterday's paper or today's paper. India shall set up hybrid power projects in three islands of Jaffna, effectively replacing the Chinese venture cleared by Colombo last year. If you remember the rules, easy to answer, easy to spot. Any question based on rules, grammar rules, 200 grammar rules. I don't know how many of you have been attending every evening 7:30 p.m. I teach rules, 200 grammar rules. So far, those who have been attending, they have learned 68 rules. Total 200 rules I'm going to teach every evening. My channel, YouTube, Murthy's, 7:30 p.m. 200 rules. I always tell any question based on rules, easy to answer. Based on context, difficult to answer. I think you guys, who is this? Naresh has got it right. Vishnuvardhan. I don't know about others. You don't have to go beyond the first part. There's one rule that goes with all the future tenses. What is it? We use will or shall with first person singular and plural. We can use will or shall with first person singular, I, or first person plural, we. With other pronouns, we cannot use shall, we can use only will. Based on that, India is third person singular. Shall is not correct, it is will. Murthy is English. Name of Telegram group, Murthy is English. After the session, you go to the description of the video. There you find the link, Murthy is English. Just click on the link, that's it. You don't have to do anything beyond that. So India will set up. Don't go beyond that. You can save a few seconds in the exam. In a veiled reference to AAP's recent electoral successes, he said, the rise of the Aam Aadmi has begun across the country. Question number 5. Yes, of course. Off means away. Off means what? Excuse me. Nothing wrong with that. Three islands off Jaffna means away from Jaffna. Nothing wrong with that. And also in. I thought some students may think of the preposition on. In three islands, that is also correct. Nothing wrong. Off is appropriate. Perfect. He said here, whenever you come across words like said, told, asked, requested, ordered, you have to think of indirect speech. And the tense is changed to a corresponding past tense. He must have said, the rise of the Aam Aadmi has begun across the country. Present perfect. It cannot be in present perfect. It should change to past perfect. Recollect the tense change is stable. Because the reporting verb is in past, tenses change to a corresponding past tense. Said, reporting verb is in past. Then it cannot be has, it should be had. How come you guys missed that one? Covered, yes. Well means covered. It should be had begun, not has. Present perfect changes to past perfect. Now, 5 questions based on phrase replacement. Exactly, offshore, drilling means away from the shore. Off Jaffna means away from Jaffna. We usually have a meeting of all department heads every Friday. Whatever you see in red, it may be right, may not be right. If it is right, no correction required. Not correct. No, no. That's a good doubt. Here it is indirect speech. What is the reason? He said the rise of the Aam Aadmi. Only this part is in inverted commas, not the whole thing. And when you see the reporting verb in past, he said, then comma should be there, inverted commas till the end. But you don't see that. Only for a particular expression they have used inverted commas, not for the whole thing. Indirect speech, direct speech. What is the difference? Punctuation. Direct speech, it goes this way. He said, comma, then inverted commas, actual statement, then inverted commas, full stop. But here you don't see that, so it is not direct speech, it is indirect speech, beyond any doubt. What is the answer? We usually have, obviously it is not correct. As usual has, not grammatically correct. As usually have, again not correct. We usually have a meeting. Answer is the third option. Unusually have, not correct. Question number 2. Over 50% of people in the country not have any access to banking service. Oh, 50%, that is strange. Question number 2. Over 50% of people in the country not have any, grammatically not correct, have not any, or having not. What are these expressions? Options are very little strange. Does not, no. People don't. We use do, not does. Over 50% of people, here we have to consider the word people, in the country do not have any access to banking services. Access always takes a preposition to, recollect and consolidate. Do not have any banking services. Perfect. Anil's friends have convinced him withdrawn his resignation. That's very good, Naresh. Entire sentence, correct sentence. Over 50% of people do not have any access to banking services. In the country, that phrase also should have been included, but still I appreciate during the live session. Question number 3. Anil's friends have convinced him withdrawn his resignation. Not grammatically not correct. In withdrawing him, for withdrawal of, to withdraw from his, to withdraw. So what is the answer? Question number, please mention the question number. Question number three, fourth option. Anil's friends have convinced him to do what? To withdraw his resignation. Then it is correct. India and China have many large number of educated workers than Brazil. But please write the complete sentence, Yakub. Across means, imagine this is, I'll use two lines. When you go, I'll use arrow mark. This is along the road, along the path. But if you go from this end to this end, that is across, or diagonally also across. You have to tell the complete sentence, only then I can say what is correct, what is wrong. No, there's a clue for you. What is a clue for you? The word than. Answer my question. Where do you use the word than? Comparative form. Many large number. That is not the comparative form. A larger, larger, large, larger, largest. Comparative form. So large is positive, not correct. Largest superlative, not correct. Large positive, not correct. Again, larger, very larger number. A very larger number is not correct. What is the answer? A larger number, that's a standard phrase. A larger number of educated workers than Brazil. Comparative degree. This goes with the degrees of comparison. To be specific, comparative form. And what is a clue for you? The word than. Question number five. Exactly. Based on the context, you can decide whether along or across or through or into. Not in this example. Many accidents at the factory are caused of workers do not read warning signs. Are caused of, obviously not correct. Many accidents at the factory are caused by what? You don't have to look at the options. Are caused by. That is one thing. Is a cause of or caused because. Hold this also. Are caused. Are a cause of. No. Are caused by workers. That is not correct. Are caused why? Because workers do not read warning signs. Not caused by. No, no, no. Please, you guys have the same wavelength. How can it be caused by workers do not read? Caused by workers, no problem. But caused by workers do not read warning signs. Is it grammatically correct? No. Listen carefully. Many accidents at the factory are caused by workers. Had they stopped here, it would have been correct. But many accidents at the factory are caused by workers do not read warning signs. Is it grammatically correct? No, not at all. Answer is the third option. Many accidents at the factory are caused because, are caused why? Because workers do not read warning signs. Crystal clear. Half of the question, please don't do that. People cannot understand if they read the complete question. And if you read half of the question, I don't think you'll be able to spot the error or get the answer. What surprises me, you choose a wrong option sometimes. Almost all the students, same option. It shows that you all have the same wavelength. All the five correct. That's very good. Everyone is in a hurry. Haste makes waste. Do remember. There's a saying in English. What is it? If you try to do things in a hurry, that means you're trying to do things hastily. Haste makes waste. Now, this is a bit difficult because there are 10 words, 10 blanks. You have to read the entire passage, understand the context, and use the appropriate word for each blank. I will number, but let us see how you're going to. Yes, obviously, it shows that. Fierce competition. Peer pressure, that is called peer pressure. A lot of students peer pressure. You see others answering, you also get tempted, and there's a lot of pressure on you. This book soon became a subject of how do you answer questions related to closed test. First, you have to read the entire passage quickly, a quick glance, get an idea what it is about. But when you read each sentence, you have to read one sentence before, one sentence after, and you have to look at the word before the blank, after the blank, understand the context, and you have to think of word combinations, lexical terms, word combinations, grammar knowledge, contextual awareness. All these play a role. Very good. Criticism, vehement criticism means what? Severe. Answer is 6. That's right. This book soon became a subject of vehement criticism for its what? Vehement, very strong, loud, assertive, aggressive. You oppose something, oppose vehemently. Thesis prediction is not correct. For its vehement criticism, for its some prediction. What is that prediction? Doom prediction is not correct. Doomsday prediction. It is the seventh option. Doomsday prediction. Doomsday prediction. Prediction about future. Prediction deals with future. Doomsday, the world is coming to an end related to that. So, doomsday prediction. However, the lead author of the here you have to use the word thesis of the thesis. Where is the word thesis? However, the lead author of the thesis denied the they have accused him, accusation, allegation, synonyms. Based on this is rather easy. Denied the allegation or accusation and said that it was not written to predict. Next one, what is the word? It was not written to predict. 5-1, yes. Predict doom. It was not written to predict doom, but to challenge people to find ways of living that are consistent with the laws of the planet. Predict cynicism is not correct. Predict doom. Fifth one is what? Doom. On the conclusions of this book, the journal Nature, in its editorial dated March 10, 1972, reflecting the what? Reflecting the prevalent cynicism among the academic circles towards a book. So here 9, here 10. Prevalent cynicism. Doom means something that is bad, something that brings in very bad things, end of the world, end of the mankind, doom, something that is ultimate on the negative side. Prevalent cynicism, a typical combination, existing, prevailing cynicism among the academic circles towards the book, called it another what? Whiff of doomsday. Whiff. What is our word here? 5. Whiff of doomsday. Another dimension of doomsday. Yes, very good. Then you have two words. Here he talks about, see the word whiff of doomsday, easy to make out. Another whiff of doomsday, something like a signal, a source. Whiff of doomsday refer to another book, World Dynamics, by J.W. Forrester of MIT, that for the first time developed the computer code for system analysis and was a forerunner to the limits to growth. What are you left with? The critics in those early days when computer literacy was minimal said that the inferences of the book were unconvincing and that the authors ignored what they believed to be self-correcting capabilities of the Earth systems. Answer is the third one. Has anyone got all the 10 correct? Not easy because of two reasons. One, the context is not easy to understand. The other, I haven't given you enough time. You haven't got enough time. Not at all easy. Now let us go to, oh, it's already 2 past 9. Shall I continue? Will spend time on this idioms. Then we have editorial vocabulary. You can decide whether to continue or not. It's already 2 past 9. Continue. Okay. Whiff means a smell of something. In this context, signal of something. Fine. Be grateful for what you have. So, what is the answer? Thank you. Be grateful for what you have. Count your blessings. Answer is D. 1D, yes. Hope that something does not happen. I use this sometimes. I have used many a time. God forbid. You say something, then you say God forbid, means you expect that not to happen. You don't want that to happen. Most important point of an issue, the crux of the matter, is the answer. Water, Adam's ale. If you look at men, they have something here very hard and projecting out. That is known as Adam's apple. Water, Adam's ale, but here it is ale, not apple. Answer is B. A natural disaster, act of God. All important idioms. God forbid means that should not happen. Look at the examples. The Haiti earthquake was really an act of God. Take a glass of Adam's ale, means what? Water. If you are thirsty, I think his new revelations about the company is the crux of the matter. God forbid that they encounter a problem on their way home. A great antidote to depression is to count your blessings. Whenever you are depressed, think of the positive aspects, positive things in your life. Now let us go to the last slide quickly. Forget about the parts of speech, try to write the meanings. Inevitable, unavoidable, J. Embody, include as a constituent part, H. Coercive, using force, F. Invoke, here you cite or appeal to as an evidence or proof or to be a witness, it is I. Landmark, an important development, landmark judgment, A is the answer. Dissemination of information, disseminate verb, disseminate noun. So distribution of info. Acquit, it's a verb, a regular verb. Free someone from charge. Free from charge. You should also recollect the word exonerate, free from blame. That is free from blame, here free from punishment. Grave, one of the meanings serious. B. Decline, one of the meanings refuse. Refuse, one meaning. To go to a lower level, another meaning. Consent, approval, or permission. Give permission. That's all for today. I'm going to do it. We have some I have some issues. Gangadhar, it's a matter of 2 or 3 days. Almost over. Everything is in place. But as I said, I'll be launching on April 2nd, on the eve of Ugadi. I'm going to launch officially my app, my website. That day, I'm going to talk about the courses I'm going to offer and the services I'm going to provide. April 2nd, on the eve of Ugadi, Telugu New Year, two things I'm going to make public. One is the app, Murthy's English. The other one, my website. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. Do remember to subscribe and share. Join the Telegram group. All that you have to do after the session, go to the description of the video and click on the link. I'll provide the PDF. Try to work on important questions.